Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories, where people conform to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and for hitting the like button. Today we have 3 great stories. If you enjoy them and haven't already, why don't you make this the video that you subscribe to the channel? And with that out of the way, let's begin, shall we? The first story is called Break Compliance. I worked at a school in the IT related department. Yes, a lot of schools have those now. Trust me, I was surprised too. Regardless, I was fresh out of school myself and the pay was decent, so I applied and pretty much got it a day later. I worked with 5 other people, 4 of who smoked, whereas the other one didn't. Now, I was a bit of a chameleon in that department. I never really get addicted to stuff, so I was what I'd call a social smoker. I have since stopped though. I generally only smoke during the weekends when going out, usually 1 or 2 packs, but I had no problem going without it. Well, from the moment I started working there, it was clear breaks were ill-defined, and 2 of the 4 smokers took a smoke break pretty much every 30 minutes. Now, the smoking area was on the 2nd floor, and we were on the 6th floor. Generally, the hallways, stairs and elevator were filled up, so a 5-minute smoke break turned into a 20 to 30 minute smoking break real fast. A few weeks in, I got sick of it. It became clear that between the 2 constant smokers, a really dumb and lazy coworker, and the 2 other guys, me and said 2 other guys did roughly twice as much a day. This was to the extent where we had to cut short or downright skip our afternoon breaks to keep up with our work. You'd be amazed at how completely inept both teachers and students are with electronics. Not a day went by without at least one teacher claiming his or her electronic schoolboard was broken when he or she simply forgot to press the on button. We tried to talk to our co-workers about it, and they insisted they were entitled to their 8+ smokes break plus normal breaks, and we just had to deal with it. We tried to suggest we plan in the smoke breaks and give everyone else a break in return to make up for it. That was a nope. Just to illustrate how bad it was, we worked roughly 9 hours and had about an hour and a half in alleged breaks, 2 of 15 minutes and 1 hour for lunch. So roughly 7.5 hours of actual work, out of which these 2 took roughly 3 to 4 hours as smoke breaks. Talking with the boss had also no effect. He was a smoker and the 2 smokers and him were buddy-buddy, so he'd reaffirmed it. So we went the malicious compliance route. Remember how I said I was a social smoker? And how the 2 other guys also smoked but were reasonable about it and smoked during normal breaks? Well, we just took as much smoke breaks as the 2 smokers. It didn't take long for everything to get backed up, and the teachers complaining there was never anyone except for the dumb lazy guy there. And when I say dumb lazy guy, I'm not overreacting. A literal log would have been a more useful coworker. About a month later, suddenly rules were introduced for the IT department about breaks in general. In other words, smoke breaks. I wasn't there for very long after that. It was an overly demanding job that paid too little for the amount of work, and there was really no route for promotions either. The next story is called You Have to Comply with the Rules. When I got into college, there was a set of country-wide regulations. They determined that on top of all class hours, each student should complete a total of 120 extra hours of course-related activities by the end of the course in order to be able to graduate. According to the college I attended, those extra hours could be extra courses, internships, projects and so on. And each certificate I presented as proof would be valid in full. So if I, for example, took an extra course of 8 hours, they would take these 8 hours off of the total 120 and bring the total I had yet to complete to 112. So on my 4th and final year of college, I decided to check on that, just to guarantee everything was in order and I wouldn't have trouble graduating by the end of the year. Yes, I know, I should have done that sooner. Imagine my surprise when I realized there were tens of hours missing. I had not reached the end goal of 120 extra hours yet, even though I spent my first 3 years in college taking part in every project or extra course I could find. I decided to check with the person in charge of computing those extra hours, thinking maybe some of my courses didn't qualify or whatever. They then told me that yes, all of them did qualify, and all of them had already been discounted from the total 120. And yet I had not reached the goal. I was convinced there must be some misunderstanding and was told I should check the rules as they were available on the website. Reading over the rules, it was very clear that if all of my certificates were considered valid, that I should have completed my 120 extra hours. Then I found the rules for the same course, but for the group that began college a year after mine. Apparently, the government changed some rules and my college changed with it. The group that started college after me only had to complete 78 extra hours, and their certificates would only have a percentage of the hour value contribute to it. So if they got a certificate of 8 hours, it would be evaluated on how much it related to their course. Then a percentage was applied to it, which then would turn it into, say, a 3-hour value certificate, reducing 120 hours to 117. I reached the conclusion that my college started applying those new rules and considering only the percentage of the certificates for all students, including my group. But they conveniently forgot to change the grand total of extra hours we had to reach. My group still needed to complete 120 extra hours in order to be able to graduate, but our certificates were now worth less. Silly mistake, right? I tried pointing out to the person in charge of the certificates that there were 2 sets of rules and there was a mix-up, but they told me, "I don't make the rules and you have to follow them like every other student here." Well, gladly, but which set of rules? So I gathered both sets of rules, the document that showed when I had started the course and screenshots of the system where those extra hours were shown. I wrote a very long letter. I was asking them why they did choose to maintain part of the rules from 1 year, but then apply the certificate validation guidelines from a set of rules of the following year. All of it mentioning and quoting the specific articles of each set of rules. Then I went to the administrative office to hand it in and request a protocol number I could follow up on. Less than a week after that, the student group chat blew up. The extra hours system had been updated, and basically me and all of my classmates had already reached our total of extra hours, because of it now correctly computing our certificates. The third story is called "Can't I Rest My Dear Customers?" I work in health IT. Specifically, I assist people with getting into various patient portals to access their health information, make appointments, message doctors, etc. 95% of the people who call us are nice and often grateful when we are able to help them get back into their portal. Some start as frustrated, but once they see we are able to help them and get them what they need, they transform and become sweet as pudding pie. Then there's the other 5%. Oh boy. A note here that the company I work for is excellent. They put an emphasis on customer service first, but also have our back if there are any genuine issues with a customer misbehaving. Everything is recorded, so if there are any questions, quality assurance or management can go back, hear for themselves and make recommendations as needed. All of this leads to our caller for today. Mr. Douche was having problems getting into his portal. He calls me literally yelling about how broken and garbage your system is, with a tone implying I personally picked the portal for a medical organization in another state just to spite him. Hey, no hurt feelings here. There are some things I don't like about the portal either. But he continues on and on about how much he hates it. All his friends hate it, his neighbors hate it, his pets hate it, and so on. When I can finally get a polite word in, I asked him for his name so I can look him up in our system. He spits out his name, Bob Douche. Per protocol, I also have to ask for 2 secondary identifiers to make sure he is the right Bob Douche. I ask for his date of birth and the last 4 of his SSN, per procedure. He rants about why can't I get him back into his chart now, and screeches out the rest of his info. I try to find him in the system as he continues babbling angrily, and lo and behold, he's not in there. I politely ask him to spell his name. Geez, don't you know how to do your job? Turns out his name is not spelled like the normal douche, it is spelled something like douche. I finally find him and open his file. So you can't get into the portal, sir? Yes, didn't I just say that? Okay, sir, I see your username is douchenoddle86. I can't look up odd passwords, so would you like me to give you a temporary one? Screaming intensifies. I'm already in my portal, he cries in fury, completely contradicting what he said mere seconds ago. I need help finding my information. I am now holding my headset away from my ear in pain. If my cubicle neighbor had not been at lunch, I'm pretty sure he'd be able to hear this guy just as clearly as me. I'm sorry, sir. I thought you just said. Don't you even know what you are doing? Well, sir, what are you? Why do you keep asking me these questions? You are harassing me. Oh, well now. I can't be harassing my customers. That's just not appropriate and against our company's policies, of course. Deep breath, clear voice. Well, sir, I'm trying to assist you, but if you feel I'm harassing you, then I'm afraid I need to end this call. The screaming had become unintelligible at this point, though I hear a couple of curses thrown in. Remember how I said our company has our back? If abusive language is used, we are allowed to disconnect after a warning. And I had already told him that I was going to end this call. I'm sorry I wasn't able to help you, sir. Thank you for calling Patient Portal. Have a good day. And with that, I pushed the end call button. Per procedure, I immediately notified quality assurance of what had just happened, in case the guy called back with complaints or started bellowing at other agents. QA listens to the call and comes back with, "Wow, that guy started angry and he never let up. You tried to help and you had more patience than I would have. You are fine." I went on to help many other lovely customers through the rest of the day. He thankfully never called back. I would not be surprised to find he filled himself with so much rage he spontaneously combusted, leaving a vacuum of bitterness behind in his place. And now it's your time to shine. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories? I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.